and welcome to another comic episode of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who is with me tonight?
Stefan JD.
Stuart Hughes.
What is that from?
That was my best droids. I can do the droids dying in the Old Republic, but it involves whistling, so I don't know how good that'll sound.
Probably not very good.
Anytime you kill a droid in the Old Republic, it goes every single time.
Too teeny.
And Stefan, since
This
is your pick, you want to introduce what we're going to be talking about tonight?
This is actually your pick.
This was your pick.
No, this is your pick.
No, it was not my
I'll
pick.
introduce it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Actually, you introduce it because I don't remember what year this came out.
We are talking about Star Wars Darth Vader, Dark Lord of the Sith comic, which came out in 2017. It's the second Darth Vader run that's standalone.
And it's basically the first 7 years short anthology series from the first 7 years the Emperor took over.
Is it 7 years?
And it might not be that long. It might only be 5. Well, no, because it implies a lot of time has passed in the last arc.
Oh, we'll get there.
We'll get there.
But there will be spoilers for this comic. There will be spoilers for Star Wars stuff. You've been warned, but if you listen to the show, you already know that. But this does take place immediately, and I mean immediately after Revenge of the Sith for 5 or 7 years, however so many years throughout the beginning of the Empire.
Right.
I just saw... we did not know this before recording. I literally just saw this, that another Marvel comic series is starting next year, also called Star Wars Darth Vader. So it'll be the 4th Star Wars Darth Vader comic series that's independent of the other ones.
Yep.
Well, each one, like the other Darth Vader one, the one that came out in 2015, takes place between episodes 4 and episodes 5.
Mm-hmm.
So that will probably take place somewhere. What they're doing is they're just trying to fill different parts of the story that you're not going to get movies, you're not going to get TV shows, you're not going to get games, something to kind of bridge the gap of information.
Yeah. And I think they're all pretty much little anthologies. I want to say the second series that came out was
That's what we're talking about.
We're talking about the third one that came out. We're talking about Dark Lord of the Sith.
Are you sure it's the third one?
Yeah, there was one in 2011, 2014. That ended.
Oh.
2015, 2016. That's ended.
All before Disney, right?
Yeah, the one from 2011-14 was Dark Horse Comics.
That's all fan
the rest
fiction.
Are Marvel.
That's all fan fiction.
Well, it is
Sorry,
now.
that doesn't count.
Yeah. Well,
We're only talking about Marvel.
Totally.
Marvel public. Oh, and this is written by Charles Soule, if I pronounce that correct. I don't know. So, okay, I did not pronounce that correct.
And drawn by Giuseppe Camuncoli.
I wasn't even going to try.
Well, I know some of this isn't canon because I think they've since changed how lightsaber crystals work, which is a whole thing.
I want to say all this is canon. Everything has been released after Disney buys it as canon.
No. There's some...
Well, what do you mean by the crystals, though?
Kyber crystals.
The Kyber crystals changed how they function. At some
You're
point.
talking about how he makes his first lightsaber?
Kind of, but how Palpatine explains how the lightsaber crystal is made is...
Well, maybe it's just a situation where you have a lying narrator. You can't trust Palpatine. He's a politician, for God's sake. Can't trust him.
He's a politician.
The main reason. He's a politician. Not that he's a Dark Lord.
He's a politician. Well, I mean, going back and rewatching the prequels, I mean, they really did... they did a good job, I feel, of setting him up. One of the only good things in there.
Yeah, absolutely. He is by far the best part of the prequels. Really? What else would you say is better than Palpatine?
Well, not that anything's better, just I don't know if I liked every part of him in those prequels. Sometimes he looked a little hokey.
Yeah, some of the stuff got a little goofy. Even his most intimidating was no, you'll die. It's just kind of goofy and weird.
The ultimate power.
So it's treason then.
Okay, I should know that can of worms. What was I thinking?
Yeah.
Look, everyone just take a minute and pause and go watch the video where they replace the lightsaber sounds with Palpatine saying do it, and be back here in a minute and a half.
All right. Do it. I did like how this comic does open up, where you have Vader being operated on, I guess, adding all the Vader armor, because all he is a, I forgot this, all he is a torso.
Kinda, yeah.
No arms, no legs, just a head and a torso.
Just a burnt. He's like the Burn Man from Fallout New Vegas, except way less cool.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You ain't got no legs, Darth Vader.
One thing I thought was interesting, they kind of go into this a little bit early in this comic, where because of everything he went through and the suit he's wearing, all his force powers now are very, very much enhanced. Part of it's just what he's going through.
Well, no, I think what happened is it actually says like he doesn't feel as strong as he used to now that he's been damaged.
Yeah, he's more powerful than anything.
Well, he's like less of a. I mean, the whole series of this comics is like Darth Vader getting more and more powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have some issues. I mean, it's like a necessary thing to write in, but I have some issues with how Darth Vader is presented very early on in the series, pretty much up until like book 3.
Okay.
I don't think we've properly explained that there's 5 books in this series and like 2 kind of one-off arcs that are just like one series, like one issue each.
Yeah, it's I think it's what, like 5 or 4 issues each volume or something.
Let's see.
First one is 6. Second one is 4.
6.
They
4,
vary.
2.
Yeah. They each have to do with whatever arc they're talking about.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, about 6.
There's a couple unnecessary issues in here too that we'll kind of go in, but there's one scene that really, really grabbed me in this book when you're first reading it, and you have the scene where you have, I don't know this guy's name, the guy with the blue head and the horn sticking out of his head. He's in all 3 of the prequel movies. He's always right next to whoever the Chancellor is.
Yeah, it's Palpatine's right hand man.
I know he has a name, but I have no idea what it is.
Masa Meta.
But there's a part when
is his name.
They take all the lightsabers, they put them all in this big cooker, and they just fry them. Then they say, freedom is coming. And I want to, and just the irony of that scene really made me laugh, where you just, like, I mean, you guys just sold your soul to the devil. It's like they had no idea what they just did.
Well, it's very, like, revolutionary in the way that, like, the Germans burnt novels. Like, that's basically what it's representing. Yeah.
And Star Wars is,
I shouldn't say the Germans. Sorry, I shouldn't say the Germans. I should say the Nazis. Sorry.
Hitler didn't destroy every
German
apologist. He signed that book for Harrison Ford, remember? When he hands it back to him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that scene in Crusade, Last Crusade.
Star Wars is nothing if not subtle.
Yeah.
You got Masa Meta standing in front of the giant Empire flags that are just like, it's like the most obvious Nazi metaphor ever.
So they're red and black too.
I love Masa Meta because in the movies he doesn't say shit. Masa Meta is like the most. I don't know if he has any lines in the movies at all.
His smile or his lines.
Yeah, his weird, creepy eyes. Well, he's got those like bright red eyes too.
Yeah,
real reference to him. Like one thing I did catch in my rewatchings is when in Phantom Menace there's a scene where Palpatine says, "I have allies in the Senate and this and that," and one of the allies he's referring to is the blue guy because he's the one that he's well aware he's a Sith Lord by the time Revenge of the Sith comes along. He knows exactly who this guy is. He's been working with for years.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was very interesting.
I think he was working with Palpatine like from the minute Palpatine got into the Senate.
Yeah,
he worked with his previous and was immediately like, "Hey, Palpatine, cool guy."
Yeah,
kind of what I took from it too.
Masa Meta is great though, because like I said, in the movies he says nothing. In the comics and like the shows, he is like the most talkative asshole. They just gave him so many lines.
Well, he plays a big part. I mean, I feel like he plays a decent part in this comic. I was going to say big part. I'm like, he's only here and there.
He's in anything besides the movies, he is basically Palpatine's Himmler, where he's just like head of propaganda. I mean, he is. He's head of propaganda. He's like his public face.
That's Goebbels.
Especially since, he's
Goebbels.
Himmler was the general, right?
No, Himmler was the in charge of the SS. He was also the one that couldn't handle the sight of blood, even though he was in charge of all the death camps and everything.
Well, let's just say he's more like the Emperor Sean Spicer or something.
Okay. I like how you're just like, let's stop where this is going.
Mike sure knows a lot about Nazis.
I know a lot about World War II. Oh, fun fact. Before I started this podcast, I was actually going to do a podcast talking about history and World War II and all sorts of stuff like that, but that never got off the ground. So
Just fucking do an episode of history my mom found.
Okay.
We can do very, very recent history and call it history my mom lived through. And it's like only from like the 60s onward.
One of the first arcs in the story is the fact that Vader doesn't have a lightsaber anymore, of course, because Obi-Wan took it.
I took it to give to Luke.
Again, why didn't he just fucking kill him? Obi-Wan should just stabbed him in the head, end his suffering, done with it.
Because the Sith doesn't deal in only the Sith deal in absolutes, Mike. Except Obi-Wan totally does that all the fucking time.
Yeah, I know he does.
Yeah.
The Jedi are the bad guys.
It's also supposed to be his brother. You're my brother, Anakin.
Would it be more like son almost? But I guess brother works. I don't know.
No, because in the prequels, everyone knows that even though Anakin was like 9 when Obi-Wan met him at the age of like 25, for some reason they were like, yeah, we're closer in personality than age for some reason. It's a fucking mess.
Oh, that's what I was saying. So, like, in the whole idea with the Sith, I mean, this is probably in other books, but nothing, it's definitely not in any of the movies or any of the main media that I consumed over the years. It's the idea that a Sith doesn't just get his lightsaber. He has to earn it and take it from a dead Jedi and then make the Kyber crystal cry. That was a cool, I mean, this was my first introduction to that idea.
Yes.
I've never read all the books.
So this is partially what I was talking about, how they changed how Kyber crystals worked in the canon. Actually, I think that does fall into the new canon now. It's very confusing. The old canon was if you were a Jedi, you'd go to a Kyber crystal cave, you'd get your crystal, and it would just be like whatever color kind of represented you, which is why when Jedi would build their lightsabers later in life, they would get new Kyber crystals if their old one got destroyed, and it would often be a different color because they were a different person than they were when they were younger.
Right.
Like, it was a big thing when like Luke changed from the blue lightsaber to the green one.
Isn't this KOTOR, what you're talking about right now?
It is in KOTOR, but it's also in the old comics, and it was like just in the novels. It was canon for a long time.
Okay, I remember it from KOTOR, I think. So
yeah, I quite like that canon because the Sith, instead of using just red Kyber crystals, they actually made synthetic crystals because they felt that they were stronger and they could manipulate them more.
It's so weird to think that was what it used to be compared to now.
Yeah. Now it's super weird where your crystal is like a living thing that changes color. It changes color depending on who wields it. So like if the Sith get a lightsaber that's green, they can pour their dark energy into it and make it red because, as Palpatine says, like it quote unquote bleeds. That's why if you've watched Star Wars Rebels, which we should probably say at some point, there's going to be spoilers for quite a bit of Star Wars in this.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of having to.
I gave a warning, but if you're going to go deeper, then
feel free to some very light spoilers for Star Wars Rebels. Most people should know at this point that Ahsoka Tano is in it, and she has silver lightsabers.
Spoiler alert to me.
Well, look, it's been a long time.
I know.
Like if you don't have Disney Plus by now, I don't know.
I do. I just haven't got around to finishing.
I actually don't. I'm waiting for The Mandalorian to come out entirely. But yeah, Ahsoka Tano has silver lightsabers because she takes the crystals of, I believe, an Inquisitor, and they're red, and she like purifies them, and they become white.
Okay, we'll be talking all about those assholes here in a little while.
Yeah, and I think this is when they decided to like really. This in Rebels is when they decided to like change how crystals worked.
I'm okay with that.
I liked the old way, but I am fine with the new one.
I mean, one thing that this comic also shows, like early on, you have Vader because he's trying to find a Jedi, and of course, there's no damn Jedi. I could have killed everybody.
Yeah.
And I love it when he goes to that base. He goes to an Imperial base, but he doesn't tell them. He doesn't use any of his code. He's like, fuck it. We're going to break down the door, and we're just going to kill everybody because I don't give a shit.
That was probably my favorite Vader moment in the initial book because it was like Vader... Yeah, like that was the point where Vader was like, he started testing himself to see what he was capable of.
Yeah.
I think it really shows you the power of the Force that Vader had, which is something that you don't really see in the original movies, of course, and you don't really see in the prequels because he's not Vader yet. But I really did like seeing that.
That's not Force, Mike. That's pure skill. Vader was the best pilot in the galaxy.
Sure he was. How'd that go?
He was. Until
he got shot by the Millennium Falcon and spins out. He ain't that great of a pilot.
Well, he was old and Han Solo was pretty cool, so.
You think they would have seen, hey, wait a sec, this ship is flying. Why don't we shoot it down? It's not that small.
Yeah, no. He should have tried spinning. That's a neat trick.
It's a neat trick.
Oh, barrel roll, Vader. That's what it should have been. Oh, it's been a while.
To the last arc eventually.
But I did like it that, I mean, one thing that comes up in the story constantly is the fact that Vader needs to kill because he's so fucked in the head after what happened. Like, I love it kind of like even in the movie a little bit, but also in the comic, you know, first thing he asks when he wakes up, where's Padme? And that's when like, she's dead. You killed her. I like that.
Appears in your anger. You killed her.
I like how they rewrite at the end of Revenge of the Sith when he has the whole like, no. I like how they rewrite that. It's all uppercase, N-O period. It's like, no. He just says no. He doesn't scream it like an idiot.
There's so many things wrong with the prequels, but let's not go there tonight.
In the rewrite in this comic, Palpatine's, you've killed her in your anger. It's like, no. And that's it.
Well, then he,
like, fuck
he
that.
almost attacks him, and then he Palpatine electrocutes him, and I mean, I thought that was cool too. Where he, one thing this book doesn't really have that I was kind of is it doesn't really show how, and maybe not until later on that Vader realizes he was also tricked too, just like everybody else by Palpatine.
Yeah, Palpatine shares a chatty fucking Kathy in this series.
Yeah, he talks a lot.
Yeah,
he has more lines in this than he does in all three movies. Well, I'm not joking. He has more lines in this first series than he does in all three movies.
That's easier because it was just writing. They didn't have to hire anybody to talk.
Yeah.
Oh, this is one thing I can't be the only person that thought this. So after Vader, he gets information to find out one of the last living Jedis, and I swear this guy just looks like the guy from Force Unleashed that trained Starkiller that goes blind. That's all the vibes I got. I can't even remember this guy's name.
Which guy are you talking about?
You mean the drunken Jedi?
The guy who did the Bareth vow.
Yeah. Bareth vow is where you vow to go and meditate and not interfere with any Jedi things.
Yeah. Oh, what was his name?
I'm looking at it right now, but I can't find it.
I enjoyed this series. The first one, for me at least, was definitely the weakest.
The first arc?
The first arc was a little. Oh, because in my mind, like, what was his name? Did you find it?
Master Kirak Infila.
That's right, Infila.
I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but he has a name, yes.
Yeah, Kirak Infila. This was the weakest for me out of all of them, just because, like I said, Palpatine was a chatty fucking Kathy, and it felt like this was made, and there's not necessarily anything wrong with it. It felt like this first part was written for people who have never watched Star Wars. Does that make sense? Where they had to explain everything to like get you up to speed.
I could kind of see that. I mean, a lot of the parts where Vader is just going out and doing whatever he wants, he later realizes that he needs the Emperor to explain that he's like his right hand, and goes back to what you were saying of him being a chatty Kathy.
Yeah,
it's very weird that he would be the Emperor would be the one to go out and talk to people, because usually he uses Vader to do that, but I guess he had to.
Well, nobody knew who Vader was. Like, that's one of the things that they talk about in here is that they have no fucking idea who he is.
They
don't know he's a Jedi.
Well, there's been a part where like he captures a Jedi, and he's gonna like take her hostage, and he's with all these stormtroopers, and she's like, "You fools! Don't you know you're taking orders from a Jedi?"
Oh, yeah.
And he like just tosses them all out of the plane, and she's like, "That was your fault."
Yeah,
I definitely want to talk about that arc. That is,
we'll talk about it. Jocasta Nu is great. She's a great character, but it's like it has like the reboot problem with any movie or show that gets rebooted, and they have to like explain how things are different now, where they just say like it's like, "Hi, I'm Palpatine, and you're Vader. You're the Dark Lord of the Sith, and I'm the one leading the Empire." It's like, yeah, we know. Move past this. Like, no one reading this comic is not going to understand who these characters are.
mean, there's got to be somebody who picked it up for the first time, that this was their first Star Wars. But
I would like to
unlikely.
meet that person who is like, I want to get into Star Wars. The best place to start is the third Darth Vader comic series to come out.
Second, damn it. The other ones that don't count. Fanfic.
Fine. The second, even if it's the second, I'm gonna start with the second Darth Vader series of comic books, and that's how I'm gonna get into Star Wars.
Also,
I'm sure they exist, but it seems odd.
For those that read comics, this was just a number 1. It doesn't say volume 2. It doesn't say issue 26. It's just 1. So meaning you can just get into it.
Marvel is very bad about doing that because they always feel like they can up price whenever they sell an issue 1.
Oh, they don't just feel like
doing it over and over again.
They just do it.
Like, I mean, look at how like anyone who's watched Star Wars Rebels knows, like, that show, like, even Clone Wars, those shows just like they just fucking start. They go immediately. Like, the first season of Clone Wars was a little rough, but they learned their lesson pretty quick. And then when Rebel started, it was like, all right, we're in. This is Star Wars. You know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah. I really need to watch Rebels. But I did like it that in his first fight against the Jedi, he gets his ass fucking beat.
Yeah.
That I like that. And then he's like, I killed him. And he's like, no. And just sitting there rebuilding himself at the bottom of the cliff.
Yeah.
And again, it shows how the Jedi they're too confident. They're too cocky. Like, he should have went down there and finished the damn job when he had the chance. And he could have solved all this problem.
I want to say that when they reveal like how the metal like prosthetic is connected to his thigh, it just looks so painfully connected. Like it's stuck right in there.
I think it's supposed to be painful to help activate his anger and to make him more powerful too. I've read that. All right, watched the video somewhere about that.
It just looks gross.
Yeah, everything about Vader's armor is designed to like make him stronger and more intimidating. It's all very carefully designed to like, because I mean initially it was designed by Palpatine and Vader just built upon it himself, which actually is something I love in this series is how it shows Vader like building up his armor over time throughout each series. Like you see him adding pieces and putting it together with the Force while he's in his back to tube.
And even when he like gets to new terrain on a different planet, he switches like his goggle color to like match like how he could look around. Yeah,
he activates sunglasses mode.
It's still cool, and just the way like that he beat the Jedi too, I thought was cool. That because he just like they start fighting. He's like, you know what? You care about these people? We're just gonna destroy the whole city. So you're preoccupied. I'll murder you.
Yeah. Which like that was started to show like part of the Darth Vader that I love, where he's just like an unstoppable killing machine who doesn't care about anything. That's kind of what makes him intimidating.
Which he isn't in the original movies, really, but that's because old movies.
Excuse me. His fucking entrance is like one of the most iconic villain entrances of all time, if not the most.
I mean, you guys know that's the story behind that. How like originally they had to do that voiceover with Earl Jones because it was just an English guy reciting the lines.
Yeah, it's David Prowse, who was like, he's not Cockney, but he's like very proper, posh English. Well, hello, Princess Leia. You will tell me what the Death Star plans are.
That wouldn't have worked. That wouldn't have worked at all. But I just like that.
Father.
And again, why didn't I feel like the Jedi should have just been like, well, the needs without many weigh the needs of the few. Like, fuck these people. I need to kill you and save the damn galaxy. But no, let's try to rescue somebody and die in the process. But I guess that's the Jedi way.
Well, they will explore that later, Mike. But yeah, I like.
Are you talking about other? You're not talking about this comic, are you? You're talking about other stuff?
No, in this comic later, where one of the characters does just that.
Oh yes. Yeah. Okay, I forgot about that. But there's one scene that I really like because I really the reason I didn't like Revenge of the Sith for a long time is I don't like the fact that Vader turned evil in such a dumb way. Like I think that he shouldn't have. Like there's a scene here after he makes his lightsaber and he comes back to Palpatine, and again, it's not real, it didn't happen, but I like the idea that it glows. Like Palpatine's like, oh, I see you have a new saber. He turns it on, it glows green, and he's like, oh, so you chosen. And then they start fighting, and I just that idea. I would have loved to see a world where he kills Palpatine and goes back to Obi-Wan and he's Anakin, and it's just I don't know, that idea really.
They have that dream sequence in this where not really a dream sequence, it's like a force vision he gets when he's initially trying to turn the lightsaber crystal and he can't, and like it forces him to. It's like the first introduction of the concept of like the Force focus on Mustafar and why he's there.
Yeah,
Mhm.
which is interesting.
Yeah, but it shows him like in his mind he sees himself failing and going to Obi-Wan and letting Obi-Wan kill him because he's just turned into a monster at this point. And it flashes back and he's like, "No, I'm better than this. I'm gonna go kill that old guy."
Which I don't like. I have never liked. I didn't like how he turned evil, but that's neither here nor there.
I mean, it's one thing to lose your mom, but like to just suddenly want to kill children over it, I don't know.
Yeah,
Seems like a stretch.
I mean,
it's
Clone
always
Wars
something I
would
have to like.
do a good job of explaining it.
Again, that's what I was gonna say. The Clone Wars do a fantastic job of explaining it. It's something I always hate to add on to be like, "Hey, I'm a huge fan of Star Wars. Don't watch the prequels. Well, watch the prequels and then watch the Clone Wars." I know I'm asking you to watch 3 movies and 7 seasons of a show, but I promise you, if you watch 7 seasons of a show, everything makes sense and Anakin is a good character.
Yes, which is sad.
Yeah, it's hard that it took people 7 seasons of a show to rewrite the movies, essentially, to retcon everything in a way that makes sense. And I've said it 100 times. I've probably said it at least a dozen times on this podcast alone. All credit to the Clone Wars writers and the Star Wars Rebels writers who made those characters so much better than they deserve to be.
Oh, and as you were saying about Mustafar, which we'll get more into later, like that was kind of like they finally give you part of the story in this comic about Mustafar that because Mustafar is in Rogue One and it's a very small scene where they go visit him and he's in his castle and he's on Mustafar.
Choke on your ambitions.
I like that scene.
People hate that fucking scene. That's like one of my favorite scenes in Rogue One.
It's a good scene.
It was okay.
There's a
I can't
whole supercut of Darth Vader having like dad jokes in the series, and once you realize like he's done that forever, like I didn't understand how people were like, "Ugh, like Darth Vader having a pun? That's so stupid." But he has like several puns in the original movies.
Okay, I do have a question though for you guys. I can't be the only one. When they first introduced the Grand Inquisitor and the whole group of Inquisitors, I can't be the only one who thinks they're fucking dumbass, terrible characters.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I hate them. Hate them.
Again, that's one of those things where it's like the comic didn't do them justice. They're pretty good in Star Wars Rebels as like antagonist characters, but
there's only 2 of them, right, in Rebels?
There's 3 or 4, I think.
Because a bunch of them don't make it out of this comic.
Well,
to be honest, a bunch of them don't make it out of Rebels.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong too, but weren't they originally Jedi?
Yes, they all
Yes, they were all originally Jedi.
And then they were turned over to the dark side for whatever reason, but they're not Sith.
The Grand Inquisitor, which the first time I ever even knew he existed was I saw his figure at a Target when Rebels season 1 or season 2, whenever the hell he's in it, came out. And I was like, what the hell? I'll never forget that.
Yeah,
but
he was originally a Jedi Temple guard. He was one of the guys that walk around in the movies, and they're all over Clone Wars. They're the guys wearing like the full body armor, and they have the yellow lightsabers.
God, the reason why he turned was so stupid.
Yeah, he's a bitch.
They wouldn't let him read the books, so he turned so he could read the books.
I'm gonna let you in a little secret. He's just a bitch. He's just a stupid old bitch.
Well, you got to remember too, Mike. I mean, Hitler wanted to go to art school and they denied him, and look what happened.
A lot of Hitler parallels in this Star Wars show.
Well, I mean, stormtroopers, they're actually, I mean, come on now. George Lucas took the same inspiration.
Yeah, but you have the Grand Inquisitor in this. You have, I don't want to spoil anything about some Star Wars game that may or may not have just come out.
Wait on that.
But you have a bunch of Inquisitors in there. You got the Grand Inquisitor, you got the 5th brother, the 6th brother, the 7th sister, the 8th brother, and the 9th sister.
And they are definitely don't all make it out of this book.
No, they don't. And they're all a bunch of assholes.
I hated every single one of them in this book.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's the problem of there's like a period of time. It's the struggle that I'm sure they had to deal with of how do we turn Darth Vader from the end of episode 3 to the beginning of episode 4? Not even then, to his scene in Rogue One. It's so hard to bridge that gap of like, this guy needs to go from whiny Anakin bitch to the most intimidating like monster, not even a person, to like a creature that runs the galaxy with you.
Yeah. I mean, would we all agree that Rogue One scene with Darth Vader is probably the best Darth Vader scene?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, he is like in movies outside of games. I think it's my favorite Darth Vader scene in the entire movies because he's just so intimidating and crazy and just. Apparently, some people didn't like that scene. I love how unstoppable he is. Like
because people like Vader a lot, and then you have Return of the Jedi where he kind of finally changes, but it didn't. You never really see him that evil, other than he tortures Leia, but you really don't see anything.
I mean, see, you watched the Star Wars movies recently, but you watched them in order of.
I watched them in the wrong order.
Yeah, if you watch A New Hope first, he's way more intimidating because he's just that opening shot of him coming in with like the smoke and the white ship and the white stormtroopers, and he's just a black figure that comes out.
I like how in the comic book, the Emperor's like, you can force choke anyone you want, just not this guy over here. Anyone else, your game.
I need Tarkin.
Yeah, it's so fuck. I want to like this so much, but just like. Darth Vader is still a bitch. Darth Vader, when this series starts, Darth Vader's still a bitch. The Grand Inquisitor is a bitch. None of the Inquisitors respect Vader, much less fear him. They're just like all assholes to everybody, including Vader and Palpatine. Mm-hmm. It's just like the hierarchy isn't there yet. And that's what makes them so intimidating. The fact that everyone everywhere shits their pants the second they hear Vader breathing before he even walks in the room.
That's because they're Jedi.
Yeah.
Jedi are cocky, especially at this time in this idea. They're very cocky. They're very headstrong type people.
Yeah.
And these were all previous Jedi.
Yeah. The Emperor brings up how his greatest, Jedi's greatest weakness is their hubris, and he's always used it against them. And that's kind of how he took over the Senate and fooled them into thinking he was just the chancellor and blah blah blah.
It's just
my favorite line. How does democracy die? With thunderous applause. So.
Mine's about the sand, being coarse.
Actually, they reference that in Metro Exodus. One of the guys is talking about. I hate fixing guns. I hate the sand.
Brought up. I want to go back into. There's a scene in this book, as we were saying, where people don't fear Vader. The Imperials don't know who he is, and he gets all the high-ranking Imperials together in this huge room.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Someone tries to kill Vader, I want to say it was. There was a setup behind, somebody high up was trying to kill him. So he's like, I'm going to choose 4 random people. He just chokes them. Just chokes 4 people, just nothing. I don't know. If someone's guilty, you 4 are dead.
Yeah.
He has there's 2 people he suspects, and he picks 5, and he's like, you're dead.
Again, that kind of helps show why people are terrified of him because... And again, they don't even know who the hell. One thing I did they don't know who the hell he is. They know who Palpatine is. They have no idea who this random guy is.
Yeah, his words are, "This is Lord Vader. He speaks with my voice. A command from him is a command from me. Pass this information down to your men. All must understand."
Someone has a book open.
Screenshot.
Oh.
Yeah. Those. And by the way, just to say this. Since we're still early on, all the artwork in this is absolutely beautiful.
It's fucking amazing. I love the artwork in this, especially the covers.
Oh yeah, the covers are just completely gorgeous. And then some of the, I don't know what it's called. Sorry everybody, I'm not a comic guy. I'm only here because of Star Wars. But you have the panels that they're the whole page with the intercut
splash
panels.
Oh,
splash pages.
Splash page, yeah.
Yeah, those are all fucking gorgeous and just so perfectly done. It's but they spent a good amount of time, even on just the regular art.
Yeah, they assembled something evil when they put this comic team together because it's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, as we were mentioning earlier with the Jocasta Nu, I want to say. She's in the prequel movies too, in one scene in Attack of the Clones, the best movie ever.
She struggles with a similar problem that Shakti struggles with, but not to that extent. Where she's had.
Why does that sound familiar? And I can't place it.
Shakti is the Jedi that looks like an older Ahsoka Tano. She's the same.
Okay, she's the one that was Force Unleashed. That doesn't count now.
Right.
Shakti. I always laugh whenever I see or hear about Shakti or Jocasta Nu because they both have the same problem where they've kind of died so much in either canons or legends that them dying is more of just a joke to me at this point. Where like I think Shakti has been killed. I think Shakti has been killed canonically and non-canonically like 5 or 6 times. I want to say
killed in the deleted scene of Revenge of the Sith for sure.
Yes,
she's killed in Force Unleashed. There's 2 of them I can think of, which were both canon at the time.
Well,
if any
of these deaths happened in comics, then it would be perfectly normal.
Yeah, she was killed. I think she was killed in either 1 or 2 separate comics. Her death was foreseen by Yoda in the Clone Wars, but it was a different death to any of the other ones depicted. So that counts as a 5th death. Shakti has just died so much.
That's in the cartoon Clone Wars?
Yeah, that show gets fucking dark.
We need to watch that for this show at some point. But
it's so dark. I love it.
But we were saying with Jocasta Nu, like I just thought it was just so cool because after I'd read this book, I was watching Attack of the Clones and I was looking for her, and she's in that small scene when Obi-Wan's trying to find the planet that went missing. They go, "Oh, Obi-Wan has lost a planet, has he?" And she's in the background in one of those scenes walking. When he asks for the records and she says these records are perfect or something like that.
If an item does not appear in our records, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, pretty much. And I thought it was cool to bring her in here and you give her some story where she's ran away and she's still alive and she's trying to make a treasure trove of information for the next Jedi someday down the road. Luke.
Right.
I thought it was cool.
Yeah, she's in the show a bit too, in Clone Wars. I like Jocasta Nu. I think she's such a cool character.
Yeah, I didn't care about her.
Well, she's great in the show, and I like her because she's one of those characters that she has one line in the movie, and so they have to build her entire character off of the one line that George Lucas gave her. And her one line is, "If an item does not appear in our records, it does not exist." And they had to build.
Librarian.
I'm a librarian. But they're like, how do we make that character not a lame idiot? And it's like, okay, we'll make her the head librarian, the head archivist for the Jedi. And she has gone over every single holocron within the Coruscant Jedi Temple, which is the main Jedi Temple. She has gone through all of it. She knows all of it by heart.
Yeah, I think even the Emperor brings up she's not really good with a lightsaber, so you don't really have to worry about that, Darth. Just go over there and capture her.
I literally gives Darth Vader the mission of he's like, "You want me to kill her?" He's like, No. I want you to save her life. We need her.
But he doesn't tell the Inquisitors that.
Yeah.
Which I like that too. They're like, yeah, they think they want to kill her. I want you to save her. And again, Palpatine playing people against each other being Palpatine.
Yeah. See, I like that Palpatine. That's when I started to come around on Palpatine in this comic, when he started blatantly sending Darth Vader into situations where his own people would be against him, where he knew Darth Vader would people would be trying to kill him, where he'd be trying to kill the Inquisitors. Everything's just a game to Palpatine to see who comes out on top.
We didn't mention this, when he first meets the Inquisitor, he cuts off a body part on each one to teach them a lesson, to show them pain. They're missing hands, missing an eye, he fucks them all up.
Yeah, he cuts off all their hands pretty much, which is that's the whole thing in the Star Wars universe.
I believe he says he's teaching them loss as well.
Yeah, that's what it was, loss.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading that.
One of the coolest things that I liked about this comic, and occasionally from time to time it'll appear, is that Vader likes to meditate, and this is before he has Mustafar, so he's just kind of in a room in a chair, just chilling. And it kind of shows, and it kind of shows he probably just smoked a bowl, But
that's what all the smoke around him at all times is.
Yeah.
He's just hotboxing in his suit.
I got that reference.
But when it shows him meditating, it shows that, because the Emperor brings up the dark side doesn't work for you unless you make it work for you, and it kind of shows the inside metamorphosis of his body, he's half dark side, still half light, and he's trying to get rid of the light inside of him.
How's that go for him?
It didn't work out.
It really worked out. So some asshole kid came around.
Yeah, he kind of looks like Carnage in those scenes. For anyone that
he does.
Yeah.
Or like a worse looking Deadpool.
Just a psycho too.
Oh yeah.
Like a worse Deadpool.
Okay.
Yeah, I enjoyed all that bit. I enjoyed all the don't know what to call it, the like internal Vader stuff.
Monologue?
It wasn't really monologue. It was just like scenes with like him inside of himself, like his like meditation sequences. I enjoyed all that. The visuals like
cool.
themselves were great, but they especially tried, like, for the most part, whenever Vader is doing his little forced meditation thing, they tend not to have any writing in those parts. It just seems to be like visual storytelling. And I honestly think, I was thinking about this around like book 3. I had the idea of, I wonder if you could take out all the dialogue out of this entire comic and still have a pretty decent idea of what's happening.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, it's just, the visuals are so strong, you absolutely could. I think the dialogue is the weakest part. So,
Well, at least it wasn't written by Lucas, you know.
no.
But as we were saying with Jocasta Nu, like she ends up going back to Coruscant to go into a secret room, which I thought was a really cool little thing that they had in there. And I love there's a scene where she sees the clone troopers and she's like, you didn't see me or something like that. And she does the whole, mind trick. And they're like, oh, we don't know who you are. Keep going. Get out of here.
That's when they start doing some like back and forth stuff, which I love, where it's like it's presented at the same exact time that Palpatine is talking to Vader about it. And he's like, yeah, she's not very strong with the with lightsaber combat, but she's strong with the Force. She's a witch. And as she's saying she's a witch, she's like doing the Jedi mind trick on a whole group of stormtroopers.
And sneaking. I mean, again, why would you sneak into the frickin', their capital, pretty much? You sneak into it just to get some information, and just the fact that she had
to get some really important information.
Oh yeah, the kids. Well, list of Force sensitive kids.
The next generation of Jedi.
Which falls into their hands eventually. Yeah. No, wait, no, it doesn't. Never mind.
Well,
no.
It blows up.
Vader destroys it, is what it is.
Vader, this is the first time that Vader has broken from Palpatine and has disobeyed him directly.
And also, isn't this a couple years later? Is this still in the first, year?
This is within the first year.
Okay, there's a time jump that comes up, and then I guess we're not there yet.
Well, there's it's confusing because there's a time jump at some point, but you also have to assume that this is not just a week after the fucking end of Revenge of the Sith. Some time has passed with Anakin healing and
this is at least a year.
It still shows them going around the galaxy trying to consolidate power as the Empire, because there's still little fractions of planets who aren't obeying specifically under them.
And you still have about that here shortly. It's important to the story. You still have the original stormtroopers. The youngest batch of stormtroopers are currently in service, and they've just shut down Camino.
Okay, I have a big question now you brought that up. Yeah. So the stormtroopers in A New Hope, so 15 years after this, 20 years after this book, are they still clones, or they're not clones anymore?
They are recruits at that point.
Yep.
They are conscripts and recruits.
Okay,
and quite a few volunteers. Yeah. At that point in the Star Wars universe, becoming a stormtrooper, it's kind of it was kind of like Nazi Germany joining the military because it would raise your standing.
Yeah, that's why those stormtroopers can't hit anything, because they're not clones.
Yeah, they're just a bunch of backwoods farm boys.
Yeah.
Trying to be soldiers. Okay. From Attack of the Clones to pretty much the end of this comic series, it's clones, and then it's recruits and conscripts, and then the First Order comes in with a brainwashing tactic.
Okay, that's many years later, though.
And the only effective ones out of any of those were like the clones that were made from Attack of the Clones, the very middle of the Clone Wars show.
I actually didn't know about that with the First Order using brainwashing.
Yeah, it's in the movie.
Is it?
They talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they talk about how Finn was taken as a baby. And
that's right.
There's also a comic leading up to when Force Awakens came out. The 4-part that does nothing. I was so excited. I read it back when it came out, and it was this tells me nothing. But that's neither here nor there. Also, what I do want to say, so I was saying, Jocasta Nu, she goes into the place, but the thing that, and if she's going to go in the vault, I love that part where when Vader ends up finding the vault, and the robot's like, "I'm sorry, Anakin, you don't have permission to be in here."
Yeah,
I love that. And he takes his lightsaber, and he's like, "You're not. I have permission to kill you if I have to, or stop you." And he just shoves the lightsaber through the droid. Enough of this shit. We don't.
Yeah,
I love that.
Well, Vader throws his lightsaber at first. He just catches it, whips it out of the air.
That's what it was.
Yeah, He's like, I have been trained in every sort of lightsaber combat. And then Vader literally punches him in the face and like explodes his face.
Okay, that's what it was.
Yeah.
That was just so cool. I think that's right after Jocasta Nu tries to fight him with a fucking rifle. Is a rifle using a lightsaber?
So yes, this is actually cool. I like this a lot.
Okay.
So at this point, they're in the Jedi Archive in the forbidden section of the Jedi Archives, which like only Jocasta Nu as the head archivist is allowed in there, which is why the Grand Inquisitor is so upset. His whole thing is he's like Snoke. He wants to like amass all the knowledge in the world and the galaxy.
The whole reason that she attacks is because he's throwing books and she gets all upset.
Yeah.
He can't handle, which I thought was really dumb. Like
throwing books and insulting them. He's like, this is dribble. That's it. She as a Jedi for the last 60 years, she's just like, nope, that's the last straw. I'm going to break and kill this man.
That really bothered me.
Yeah, that was a little weak, but yeah, she goes into the vault. She takes out this. I don't think it actually has a name. I could be wrong about that, but it's a gun that has only been used in this comic. I actually never knew that it was from this comic. I've seen images of it before. Oh. And it is a sniper rifle that is fueled by a kyber crystal. So you put a lightsaber in it, and it has 5 shots, and then whatever lightsaber was inside of it, like erodes, it just melts. It's essentially all the energy was used in these 5 incredibly powerful shots, and you have to put new lightsabers in to reload it.
Yeah, we should mention that for in the movies, Vader doesn't really like get that damaged, but in these comic books, he gets fucked up like every 2 issues.
Oh yeah,
yeah. At some point, I was like, I had to look it up. I was like, are these the same people who did like Battle Royale? He gets fucking destroyed.
He is tore up.
Yeah, these were a lot more violent than I was expecting them to be.
Yeah, I like the fact they show him rebuilding himself. There's even a line early on where Palpatine says, "Oh, you were an engineer. You build yourself." Like, I understand, something like that.
Yeah, I expect I trust you to do it because that's Anakin's whole thing. He was like the best all around Jedi.
I think it's funny that you knew of the rifle before you even reading this book. I never seen it before, but I'm also not as big of a fan as you are.
Look, I've watched every YouTube video that exists on Star Wars lore at this point.
I can almost believe. Hey, there's one. I know one you didn't watch recently.
Yeah.
That's as far as I'm going with that show.
Well, I've been slightly changing my interest from Stupendous Wave to Lore Master. Sorry for all the Stupendous Wave followers out there. Only like 2 people that listen to this will get that.
I don't get it, and I listen to and
They're both YouTubers who literally all they do is just read off the Wikipedia. But I love them. I'll watch every video they have.
And we had kind of mentioned the scene, but when he ends up capturing Jocasta Nu, I did like that when she's like, "You fools, he's a Jedi," as you were saying. And he's like, "Oh, bye."
Yeah.
The Stormtrooper stuff, like
they don't know.
Strict Order 66 rule is just really. You can always write really interesting stuff around that, and for them to just use it as a like Jocasta Nu knows about it, it just uses it to her advantage. I love that.
Well, I didn't know that Order 66 was bred into them as a safety net by syphilis. No, not what the hell is his name?
Palpatine? Sidious?
No, it wasn't Palpatine did it. It was the other guy who put Order 66 in their changed it. Somebody did.
Yeah, it was that fucking asshole. What was his name?
It's not Sifo Dyas.
Sifo Dyas, that's it.
Yeah.
Syphilis, but hey, I was close, right?
Well, it was initially like Sifo Dyas. That's a whole fucking
I know
thing to get down.
That's more lore than I want to talk about right now.
Yeah, Sifo Dyas is an interesting character, but yeah, that's like a whole other video.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. But I do want to talk about what was my favorite arc of this entire book was when you get into what's called the Burning Seas.
Oh,
I really, really like this arc.
When they go to Mon-Cala.
Mon-Cala, yeah.
It's
after Mon-Cala.
There's a line in this book that is exactly from a reference to Revenge of the Sith. They talk about how, like, we can't blow up this planet. Palpatine's a fan of the opera. And in Revenge of the Sith, there's a scene where Anakin's talking to Palpatine before he changes, where he's watching an opera, a Mon-Cala opera.
Oh, yeah, when he's talking about, like, how you can use the dark side to bring people back from the dead or something.
Have you ever heard the tale of Darth Vader's wars? The thing that's been mean as shit at this point. But
I never knew Darth Plagueis was from the Banking clan. He's one of those really ugly looking aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I did not know that until I Googled it. I'm like, what the hell does he look like? He looks like a really ugly alien.
Yeah, the Newt Gunray assholes.
No, even uglier than that. The Banking clan is a different group than the Trade Federation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
he looks like an ET had sex with an alien, and it just looks really weird. I don't like it.
Yeah, he's pretty evil in this.
I know. That's all I can think of.
We should say that this the official title of this battle is called the Battle of Dak City.
Dak City?
And Dak City. And isn't, if I'm mistaken, what's his name in here too? Akbar?
Yes.
He's not Admiral Akbar, he's something
Commander Akbar.
Yeah.
He's
Also,
teenage Akbar.
the other guy sitting next to the king is in Clone Wars, which I thought was cool, because I know
Yes.
so she was smiling. Grin to grin.
Telchar. Something Char. Felchar? I think it's Telchar.
Well, he was king.
Yeah, there's the whole arc, and they actually flash back to it. The arc, and they flash back to the end of the Clone Wars arc, where like Anakin, Padme, and Ahsoka Tano all have to go to the planet to like help him with there's like a coup, and they're trying to kill him and take over.
Yeah, which I thought was really cool, because I haven't seen Clone Wars in a while, but I do remember that little arc, and it made me smile to see. I like Padme a lot, but it made me smile to see that.
Yeah, she's one of those characters that's fucking great in the Clone Wars.
Yeah, and also one of the guys, what the hell? I don't know if I can find his name here, but one of the Mon Cala that's with like his right hand man, like the general
Ronan?
or something. What?
Ronan?
Is that the ugly gray guy, silver guy that's also in Rogue One that doesn't go so well? Because he is in Rogue One. I was watching Rogue One shortly after reading this book. He's in one of the scenes, but let's say he's on the ship that gets boarded by Vader. Let's just say I don't think things went so well for him.
Yeah, I think his name. I think that's Ronan.
Rahu, it's something with an R.
Rohan.
He's in Rogue One. I love the fact that they bring things from the movies into this comic and find a way to work them in.
Yeah, it's like there are some characters that were basically introduced in Clone Wars that have really gotten a good Lee Char, that's his name, Prince Lee Char. Yeah, they've really gotten like a good amount of life out of them. Like, I mean, like Ahsoka Tano was introduced in the fucking Clone Wars, and she's one of people's favorite characters now. Saw Gerrera, who's been in, I think, upwards of like 6 or 7 different pieces of Star Wars media at this point. To the point that his entire life story has been told. You get some characters that really get some good legs on them.
Yeah.
Radis, I believe his name was.
Yeah, it's Radis. Yeah, I was like that. What you said? Oh, I'm like, that doesn't sound right.
Ronan, that was close. Radis.
I knew it was an R.
I said we fight. Yeah, that was him on Invading Scarif.
Okay. Yeah, that worked out real well.
I sound like we all don't sound alike. I sound nothing like Akbar. Admiral Akbar's breakfast cereal.
The whole reason
Your tongues can't repel flavor of this magnitude.
The whole reason they go to this planet is because they think there's a Jedi working with King, which there is. And this is one of my favorite Jedi now because of what he did. Because he causes so many problems with the idea that someday this will be good. Someday.
Yeah.
That is not a Jedi thing.
Really interesting Jedi characters. He's not really a Jedi. He was a Padawan who escaped. So this really raises a lot of questions because he claims that he was Vader claims he was a Padawan, but he's like a full-grown adult. So clearly this is sometime after Order 66.
I think because there is a line where they talk about how that it's been a few years.
Yeah, but it raises the question of because the guy looks like he's fucking like 62. So
I would say that.
I mean, he's an alien, but it's like, okay, how long has it been? Because I think I
would have said 30s.
The beginning of the series, though, I think the beginning of this comic was like, it's been 3 years since the end of the war. It's like, you were only a Padawan, and now you're 30.
Yeah.
You must have been a really shitty Padawan.
Well, but basically what we're saying is that he has this weird premonition that eventually all the people on Mon Cala are going to help in the rebellion against the Empire later in Return of the Jedi?
Yeah, it's actually the tie explaining how the original rebels had why they had the ships that they had. It's a nice little bridge.
I really like that too because I recognize those ships in the Rebel fleet in New Hope and things.
Yeah, because they show up in the Clone Wars. I think at some point you're like, I know what that ship is. I've seen that before.
But this was also a really good scene of showing what the Emperor can do, because they fucking they ransacked this planet in the end.
I like when they mention Krennic as well in the Death Star. They're like, should we use the weapons, sir? And he's like, no, Krennic has not finished it yet.
Oh, that's in here too, isn't it?
Yeah, but we still have all the Star Destroyers in the galaxy.
Yeah, I was just going to say, one of the coolest parts is when how does Vader get at the bottom of the ocean? Isn't it that the Mon Cala like destroy their cities?
They flooded.
Yes. Yeah, they destroy their own cities with whales. The whales nuke the cities.
They pulled Aquaman.
A complete moment of irony. The whales are the ones that nuke the cities.
Well, you do know that if all the whales die, then we'll just go extinct.
Before the whales die, they just destroy all the cities on the coast.
I know you get that reference.
Wow.
I think you're referencing Hitchhiker's Guide.
Star Trek 4.
Oh, Star Trek 4. Yeah. It's been a long time since I've seen Star Trek 4, Mike.
It's okay.
A very long time.
Keep it that way.
That's the voyage.
So you were saying, right? Stefan.
No, we're on this now. We're talking about Star Trek. Which one is First Contact?
Why is my brain not working?
That's Star Trek 5. That's the only one I really remember.
No, it's not. It's not 5. I can tell you that much. I'll look it up. Okay. You should talk, Stefan.
First Contact is part of the newer generation. Anyway, yeah. So they fled the city, and Vader is like underwater, and he's drowning, and his suit's saying "Alert! Suit rupture imminent." And he simply uses the Force to like move the water away from him.
Yeah, that actually.
First Contact is the 8th Star Trek movie and the best one with the Borg. I can't believe I forgot that. But okay. We're done with that.
I can spoil something now, but I don't know if I should.
What's it for? The Jedi game?
Maybe.
And don't.
Keep going.
Not yet. Too soon.
Okay, too soon. But yeah, I'll say that using the Force to move water is something that it happens in several things as like Star Wars media.
Yeah. And he uses it in a different way later on when he runs into all the Jedi and rebels on the planet, and he just explodes their helmets. So when they're underwater.
Oh, God, yeah.
That's got to be a terrible way to die.
Oh, yeah.
It's the part that I loved, because this was like, anytime you let Vader be Darth Vader, it's great.
I got a random comic thing to say about that. Okay. At some point when I think I must have been 12 or 13, I read an X-Men book. I have no idea what damn book I read. And in the book, it had somebody underwater saying, being drowned is a peaceful way to die. You just stop breathing. It hurts, but then you give in. And that has always stuck with me. And I had no idea what book it was from or anything, but that whole thing has always stuck with me.
That is not how that works at all. Yeah. Apparently, drowning is like one of the worst deaths you can ever have.
Yeah, it's extremely painful and slow. I would probably rather die in a fire, because at least then I would suffocate and it would be easier.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know where that myth came from, but like, since I live so close to the fucking beach, I've heard that myth a lot. And drowning is like awful. Like the second you start running out of air and you can't breathe, like your lungs basically catch on fire.
Yep.
It's the worst. Not that I've drowned, but not that I haven't not drowned.
I have no idea where it's from, but I swear it was an X-Men comic at some point that I read in the 90s. I had that in the back of it.
It's been like a myth for a very long time. It's just something people believe for some fucking reason. There's another one where it's like, some people are like, I hear you come when you drown, so I want to drown. It's like,
what the fuck?
Yeah, that's been a myth. I don't know if that's true, but I mean,
let's not find out ever.
Yeah, there are easier ways to do that than to burn your body to death underwater.
Yeah, do not do anything that requires asphyxiation.
Yeah. Without
ask the guy from the Kung Fu show.
Yeah.
I liked him. I was sad.
The guy from the Kung Fu show?
I know. I couldn't remember his name.
I know, but like, even if you don't know David Carradine, you call him the guy from the Kung Fu show and not the guy from Kill Bill?
Kung Fu show I grew up watching where I first saw him, so he's always going to be the guy from the Kung Fu show.
It's so weird. That's like talking like Henry Winkler and being like, hey, the guy that showed up in a couple Adam Sandler movies randomly instead of the Fonz?
I forgot that show was a thing.
You forgot?
Happy Days?
days.
No, Kung Fu.
Happy days, Wednesday, Thursday, happy days. Okay, I'm done with that.
Yeah, you know the Royal Pains? You mean Fonzie?
Okay, as we were saying, so I do,
Hey.
and I also love the part where when the Jedi is cornered with what's left of his entourage, who he pretty much tricks the people that are following him. He uses the mind control to trick them into following him and risking and pretty much giving their lives up for the Jedi quotation cause. And I was just like, this guy is really a Sith.
He's a dick. He's a total dick.
Yeah.
I liked it because he shows each one. If you notice, each time he talks to him, he moves his hands in the same way that Obi-Wan does. Like it's in one or two of those scenes. He's like, "You should join me. We should join you." And I'm like, "What the?" Yeah.
Yeah, it's super fucked up. I love that. I love when they take a character that's just like strayed so far away from the dichotomy, but in such a bad way.
It's a cool scene. And plus, like the scene when they're trapped, as I was starting to say, and he's like, "Order 66," or something like that. Oh, they're Jedis, right?
Yeah.
And, like what? And they start shooting the Inquisitors. And they kill at least one or two of them. Die in that.
It's weird how that order is now working in the favor of the Jedi against like the Sith. Like they're using their own tactics against them.
The whole idea of the Order 66 is a safety guard that was put into them, but it was supposed to be for something else, not to kill the Jedi.
Right.
I thought about it at one point because I was really confused. Like, why would you just say something that they start killing everybody? I don't understand, but there's a reason.
That's when you get into the whole Sifo Dyas stuff, which again is confusing and has changed. I think. I believe.
Yeah, and Sifo Dyas taught by Dooku, but because like that, like in Attack of the Clone, Jango Fett says, "I was hired by a man named," and he says something else, but the name he's saying is Count Dooku's Sith name.
Yeah,
I looked this up at one point.
Yeah, it's confusing because Darth Tyrannus, that's what it is.
Yeah, he says a man named Tyrannus hired me.
It's a very confusing thing. I could have sworn like
Dooku. More like
it's Count Dooku.
It's Count Dooku, Darth Tyrannus are the same person. And that's confusing because like there was a point where people didn't think Darth Tyrannus was Dooku, and it was a whole issue, and people fought about it, and Star Wars fans are the worst.
Yeah, but then it became real later, I think. I don't know.
I like whenever. I know people don't love the new trilogy, but I quite enjoy it because one of my favorite things about Star Wars is whenever it breaks away from like the strict dichotomy and it explores that kind of like in between space. That's why I like Knights of the Republic and the second one so much because that's all they do.
Yeah,
waiting for my midi-chlorians to come back. When's that happening? You think?
Shut the fuck up.
Hey, I have damn whore mouth. I have a defense for the midi-chlorians that I want to say on this show since we're talking about Star Wars, and we won't be for a while.
The midi-chlorians is that the Jedi in the prequels were fucking idiots and they deserve to fall.
My theory was that since they had been around for so many years, that they had a way to kind of scientifically look up things that goes away after they fall. So that's why I've never mentioned again because everybody's dead.
I mean, that makes sense in the universe, but again, I think it still just sticks to standing that midichlorians was a dumb idea to begin with.
I always thought until I just watched Phantom Menace that when he said midichlorians, I thought he said mitochondria, and the same thing as Parasite Eve. And I rewatched it, I'm like, oh, not the same.
Midichlorians are
the power of the cell.
Of course.
Okay.
But yeah, Farron Barr has he's got like a whole great thing where he is tricking people into helping him. And the one thing I didn't like about him is that he had like all the information at his disposal. Like he knew everything about Order 66. He knew exactly who Anakin Skywalker was and who Darth Vader was.
Mm-hmm.
Which, like, I get that they didn't have time to explain why he had this stuff. They could have just thrown in some like throwaway line where it's like, oh, and this is Farron Barr. He used to be a Padawan, but he worked in the archives, or he like was a scribe for one of the fucking counselors, and he was in privy to all this information, rather than he's a guy and he knows this for some reason.
Yeah, and it's also doing that thing where it's trying to explain episode 3 just in case nobody's ever seen the movie, and it's like, we get it, we know what happened.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about this. Just give him enough information. Like at some point, he's literally explaining everything about episode 3 to these fucking people that are like his mind slaves, but also it's kind of implied that they may have some force thing going on or some ability. It's confusing. Like they're his followers / slaves / maybe Padawans. But oh god. But yeah, I like it. his whole
He even
like
recites the line like, you killed younglings.
younglings. He fucking is telling his people that he killed the younglings. It's like, okay, dude, but we're all about to die, so like maybe get to the point.
Yeah. And how the fuck do you know that?
I wish they get over the whole youngling thing.
Yeah.
Look, we're past it. We're in the new trilogy. We don't need to talk about Darth Vader anymore.
Even then,
And
he does a lot worse atrocities than kill a few kids. Atrocities,
well,
but he does a lot more too. Like he doesn't stop there.
yeah, he does kill like whole cities for fun.
Yes, so I mean that trumps it eventually. Like you, that's funny. Eventually, it just does. Like you know, your acts are going to add up. Like I think a lot worse things. Like, you know, he kills planets, he flood towns. I mean, he's a terrible person. Like, forget the young.
It comes down to that thing of like the Terminator movies, where in Terminator 2 he's mowing down people just left and right at the beginning, and then Robert Patrick's Terminator 1000 kills the dog, and that's the part where like everyone's like, this is irredeemable. He's killed a single dog. It's like he's killed like his foster parents at this point and like half the fucking neighborhood. Like, he's a bad dude already, but once he kills that one dog, like you could blow up. Like if he had blown up a whole city, everyone would be like, "Oh, what an evil guy!" But if he had killed one dog in that city instead of blowing up the whole city, which it would be implied the dog died, you're like, "Oh no, he killed a single dog. No, he deserves to go to hell." So
What's wrong with Wolfie?
We love dogs.
The dog survives the entire city getting blown up because it managed to jump into a fucking alleyway. That'd be so dumb. Anyway,
okay.
Back to Farron Bar, who he has this. He's like sees through the forest. I love how he has completely abandoned the light side of the forest. He knows what's going on, and he's just like, I'm gonna do whatever I have to do to get us to where we need to be.
Well, he's the reason they attack Mon Cala because he blows up the ambassador.
Yeah, he purposely assassinates the ambassador to draw the war to Mon Cala, so that the planet gets destroyed, to send a message to like it's he's got the same thing going on as like Saw Gerrera in the show, which I know some people don't like Saw Gerrera in
the show.
Rogue One.
Yeah, he's in the movie. He's in Rebels.
He's in Rebels, and he's in
Yeah, I think Stu said like he was in like 5 different things.
Yeah, he's in Clone Wars. He's in Rebels. He's in the new game, even as like a minor role. He shows up in I think 2 or 3 comics. I want to say, or 2 or 3 like comics or novels. Like he's all over the place.
Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. I didn't know he was in. I need to rewatch Clone Wars. Bad.
Throughout the extended media, you see his entire life.
Okay. He's the asthmatic, right?
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
Save the Jedi. Save the galaxy.
Rogue One.
It has to be you, Jin.
Okay. Anything else you want to say about the Burning Seas before we move on? I want to talk about the best issue.
Happened to my eye.
Okay. I can't be the only one who hated issue 18 when they have just a one-off arc.
I like that.
Okay, so I am the only
really badly there.
How about you, Stefan?
What one was 18 again?
18 is the one where he does Grand Moff Tarkin. He does Tarkin a favor at one point in the story. So I think in Bernie Sky, I don't remember where. And then Tarkin, Bernie C. And then Tarkin is doing him a favor, which you don't know right away. He's hunting him.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I remember that. I thought it was okay.
Book.
I think the way you started there kind of stopped me for a second because you're like, the way he does Grand Moff Tarkin, I was like, I don't remember them having a bromance or something.
He bends him over.
I like the favor he does him in the previous chapter as well, because that's while they're on Mon Cala and Tarkin calls him and was like, I'd like to make a request. He's like, you don't order me. And he's like, I'm well aware. I'm not ordering you. I'm just making a request. I love that you get that Tarkin Vader. I love their relationship in the movie. And Anakin meets Tarkin in
Clone Wars.
Later in the Clone Wars. And they kind of they start talking. And you just know, you're watching that scene. You're like, oh, these guys are going to do some bad shit later.
Yeah.
I like how they're getting along is very bad.
I mean, he wasn't in. You're telling me he wasn't in Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi for some reason?
No, spoilers for a movie that came out in 1978.
I didn't catch this until I rewatched A New Hope. They're like, "Sir, we should get your spacecraft." He's like, "In our moment of victory," and then he blows it up like a couple minutes later. I'm like, great.
Sorry,
I don't know.
1977.
Yeah. I don't know. Tarkin always kind of felt like to me like he's just a very calm, evil person. He knows what he's doing all the time.
Yeah.
He knows that the Emperor loves him. So he's just like chilling. He never is worried about anything.
Well,
And
he's
with
always got
Vader,
a plan.
especially with Vader. Yeah.
He's got a plan for everything,
Yeah.
which is why he's never worried, because anything that happens to him, he is prepared for it. So I love him, and there are some scenes in Rebels where, like, with Admiral Thrawn, where they're like, I don't know if they ever talk. I haven't watched Rebels in a long time, but just they're both their characters. I love imagining them together, of like neither of them really saying anything, but saying everything, but not saying anything.
I would say that Thrawn is slightly more interesting, but that's only because he's blue.
You could just imagine Tarkin talking to Thrawn, though, and being like, "Hello, Thrawn. Interesting tie." And the rest of the day, Thrawn is just like, "What's wrong with my fucking tie? What does that mean?"
His third eye is twitching.
Like, I was really confused when I first started. I think one thing that turned me off in this issue, it starts off with Vader being hunted, and I was really confused. Like, why the hell are they hunting Vader? And he's killing all the party, the hunting party. And I was just really confused.
Yeah, it doesn't explain what's happening until the last, like literally the last minute.
Yeah, where he's about to kill Tarkin, and then they explain it.
It's a weird like little in between issue for what comes next. It doesn't feel like the pace. Like if this was a movie, that would be the weird moment where the pacing's off.
The part when they go to the casino planet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Like no one will defend that. Okay.
Sorry.
That whole part, seriously.
It made more sense to me my second watching than it did when I saw it in theaters. I'm more at peace with it. I understand it now, but it was just I remember when I first saw it in theaters, it pissed me off.
Did you like the part where they leave all those fucking orphans on the planet, but they save a bunch of wild animals for some reason?
As we already established in this podcast, the dog is more important than the people.
Apparently.
I didn't know there's a YouTuber named Mikey Luderman who was a writer for Borderlands 1 and 2. He's we're not promoted by this guy. I just think everyone should go watch his videos. He's called if we got promoted by Movies with Mikey, I'd fucking love it. He does a series called Movies with Mikey where he does like a 20-minute breakdown of movies that are so good. His editing is so good. I can't even begin to explain how fantastic of an editor he is. But he brought up something interesting about Last Jedi that I had not noticed until I heard him say it, where nobody in Last Jedi, there are no relationships in Last Jedi. Everybody is on their own, which I did not notice. There's not a single serious, like, romantic relationship in that movie.
Yeah, you are right.
Han's gone. All the rebels are all split up. No one's really talking to each other.
Everybody's just fighting. It's an odd movie.
Yeah.
Isn't there one scene though where like Leia and what's his name, bad guy?
Ben, Kylo?
Yeah, Ben. Yeah, Kylo. They share a little moment together though, where he's about to fire
pull
on
the
her.
trigger and murder her for a second, and then his friend does instead.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's not. I wouldn't really call that a moment. Like, should I kill my mother?
It's more
I
like
think I'll wait. Oh,
it's more him being like anxious to kill his mom rather than like, "Hi, I love you, son."
You think it's kind of weird that he hesitates though after he just like instantly killed his dad? Like, I don't know why mom's more precious.
Okay.
Oh, because everyone loves their mom, and everyone kind of wants to kill Harrison Ford. I love Harrison Ford, but I kind of want to kill him.
Apparently.
Yeah. Well, you just say that, but I mean, he's been in what 3 plane crashes that he's caused. Like the dude's fucking unkillable.
All right. Did anybody read the annual? That doesn't really take place, but this is my last part to mention it before we go into the last
actually,
part.
I wanted to talk about real quick. I want to say about the in between like one-off section where Tarkin's hunting them. I actually really like that because this is the point in the comic where, I guess this is an anthology, but there is like a single string running through all of it where Anakin or Vader, I guess, is like he doesn't really know what to do with himself. It's very much like a weird middle-aged crisis movie where he's killed off almost all the Jedi. Like he doesn't have the promise of more people for him to fight is kind of diminishing over time. And so he's just like running out of things to do with his life. Siri, shut the fuck up. Started searching a bunch of weird stuff about people hunting me. But yeah, like he needs people. He wants Tarkin to hunt him because he's just bored. Like he has nothing to do and he has no challenge left. It's just him. It's kind of the part where like his power has outweighed his ability to feel challenged.
You made this sound a lot cooler than I remember reading it.
Well, I like Star Wars.
I know.
But yeah, I like that part because like I said, this is the middle-age crisis movie. This is the midlife crisis movie. This is Vader running out of things to do, and so he's just like, "Hey, want to hunt me on a planet? Because I'm bored. I'm so bored. I can't kill Palpatine, and I can't kill all the Jedi because I already killed them all. So please just try to kill me."
You make this sound so much more interesting than I remember it. Really do.
It
You are right though.
lot.
It bored me. I guess maybe I just didn't like seeing him be hunted. I guess I don't know. I'd be okay with him killing him. I wouldn't care because I don't.
It was set up really weird because the whole thing is done aside from maybe 2 lines at the end. Almost the entire thing is done from an inner monologue from Tarkin.
Yeah,
and I kind of never want an inner monologue from Tarkin. I kind of prefer not ever really knowing what Tarkin is thinking.
I agree to that.
He's like much like Thrawn. He's a better character when you don't know his plans. You just know that he has the plans.
Right. He's always plotting and scheming.
He needs to be that character that's always smarter than the audience. And when you have an inner monologue, your character is never smarter than the audience.
because he's talking to the audience.
Yeah. And you kind of pull that off in like maybe some like Sherlock Holmes stuff, or like Agatha Christie does that occasionally, but it's very hard. It's very difficult to pull that off, and this doesn't really do that.
Okay.
It's hard to be a narrator and be smarter than the audience if you're in like a different narrator.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Oh, because I did want to just mention very briefly, because this doesn't require a lot of talking. I did read the annual for this just because I wanted more of this comic, because I actually read through this entire series besides issue 18 twice. But I really enjoyed this comic. But the annual, I thought was cool because the annual kind of touches on that the Genosians are building this massive battle station, the Death Star, and that a bunch of things are going wrong. And he's sent there to figure out what's happening. And you find out that the Genosians are having babies, which they're not allowed to do because they're a servant race, which I just think is just kind of funny because they are one of the first people to side with Palpatine when he's Darth Sidious, yet he fucked them over completely, and they can't even, any of their breeding is only governed by the Empire.
Mm-hmm. It's very selective.
I thought that was cool. Like, oh, they just got completely fucked after all the. I mean, they're the one that freaking built that had the Death Star plans originally in Attack of the Clones, and they got. I just thought it was just funny how they got completely, screwed by him.
I can't remember. Remind me, what do they do with the baby when they capture it?
He kills everybody.
Okay, that's what I thought.
The men, the women, the children, everyone.
Mm.
He kills the queen. He kills everyone because they're not allowed to breed.
I can't speak much of this because
It's okay.
Mike said you can skip 18 in the annual, so I skipped the annual and I read 18.
It's fine.
I was like, what the fuck are you
not,
talking about the Geonosians? I don't remember that.
It's not worth it. It does have Krennic in it from Rogue One in a little scene, but it doesn't include the story. And then to round out this book, we're going to talk about the last arc, which is I fucking hated.
It was a thing.
Okay, so I'm not the only one. I'm good. I like that.
I don't want to say I hated it. It's one of those weird things where I liked aspects of it and I didn't like other aspects of it.
It's too long.
Are we talking about what happens on Mustafar?
Yes.
Okay.
It's literally
I was beating around it, but yes.
Fortress Vader, which sounds very childish. Welcome to Fortress Vader.
Well, I mean, the whole idea is he asked Palpatine for his own planet. And I do like the fact Palpatine's like, you can have Naboo. You can have my own planet.
Yeah.
I know you got a special thing for Naboo. And I want to be like, there's no sand on Naboo. He's like, you want Tatooine? You can destroy it. Do whatever you want.
There's actually this really cool bit where he gives Darth Vader Padme's old ship, and he asks him, he's like, do you remember it? And he's like, yeah, of course I do. He's like, you know what? I'm going to drive it over to Mustafar. And on the way there, he takes the shields down so that when they're flying in the atmosphere, it will get burnt to a crisp and better reflect who he is now.
Yeah. It's again, it's one of those things where like you take out the dialogue and the visuals could just tell like almost a better story by themselves.
And also, that ship is not in Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith. She has a different ship in those two movies.
It's a replica of the ship from Phantom Menace, right?
No, it's the same ship, I think.
It's the same ship, yeah.
Well, the same ship plus a few replacement parts. That should get blown to fucking hell.
Yeah,
in the first
I don't
movie?
remember.
Yeah, the ship got blown up in the first movie. Like, I want to say towards the end of it, or maybe it got blown up at the beginning of Attack of the Clones. One of those.
Oh,
two.
you're talking about when they tried to assassinate her?
Yeah,
That's Attack of the Clones.
that ship blowing up was, I believe that was a practical effect though.
Oh,
It's one of the few practical effects in those movies.
when they're on Coruscant, the
Yeah.
little like pad, yeah.
Yeah,
They killed her lookalike.
I think it's practical mixed with CGI, and you can tell because the practical aspects of it still look pretty good, and the CGI is like, hey, that's definitely not real fire like all the other fire.
Yeah,
It's really weird that they mix CGI fire with real fire for some reason.
yeah.
Kill poor eye patch man.
Actually, no, I think he survives that.
He survives that. He dies later. Or no, maybe he doesn't die. I don't know. Doesn't
It
matter.
was Attack of the Clones because that's when Sam Westall's after. I don't know why I remember that name. Sam Westall, the shapeshifter bounty hunter that Boba Fett Jango Fett.
Jango Fett.
hired.
Okay. Okay, so we were saying after they bring, he takes his ship and burns it. The whole idea is that they're going to build a castle on Mustafar
Yeah,
for Vader in the same spot where he took his kyber crystal
yeah,
all the way back.
Apparently, the Empire has like
yeah,
castle designers on hand.
yeah.
So they bring like this chick that's like, here, I'm gonna help you decorate it.
It's
I like the show.
the same woman who decorated like. God damn it! It's the line is literally as stupid as Palpatine going. I think her name is like Alva Bin. It's like take Alva Bin with you. She's my interior decorator. That's basically what he says.
Yeah.
She's the one who designed my new palace. He's basically saying, take this person with you. They're my interior decorator. It's comedic in the worst way. This whole series is comedic in the worst way, where it's that prequel kind of funny. It's like, even a kid could understand this joke. Yeah, but the joke can still be good. It's just weird. It's just weird and out of place goofiness from two characters that are not goofy in any way.
Yeah, that whole scene would have been better, like you said, Stu, if it was just there was no dialogue. It was just played the whole thing through with nothing to say.
Yeah. Like I said, the writing is my least favorite part of the series. It's just so much of it is like cheesy and dumb. Fucking take my interior decorator to Mustafar, the lava planet, so she can build you a castle, you fucking loser.
Well, I don't think is Palpatine aware of why he's trying to build it?
Yes.
I feel like
Palpatine is because Palpatine told him that the Force focus was on that planet, and Vader is he is seeking to understand what that is.
Mm-hmm.
All right, because I know he felt something early in the early arc, and then he also takes this helmet with him that Palpatine gives him because the helmet, which we didn't mention, it shows up. It's in that vault.
Yeah,
and he's like, "Well, the helmet told me." And
yeah,
I
it's
was
kind of
like,
a nice little callback. So, as I said, there's
Okay.
that string running through this entire series, and it like begins with Vader not knowing who he is, and then seeing Momin's helmet in the archive, and learning if Palpatine's trying to kill him, and like running out of Jedi to hunt, not really knowing who he is, and it all comes full circle with Palpatine saying, he says it's so fucking stupid too. He's like, take this helmet with you. The helmet belonged to Momin, a dark side user who used the dark side of the Force to create. And Vader says, how do you know that? And Palpatine, doesn't he like literally throw his hands up in the air and go, the helmet told me, and walk away?
I think he does, yeah.
It's like a Bernie Sanders parody thing. Where the helmet's talking to me. He walks off, and Vader's just like, okay. It's so fucking weird.
So is this like with Momin's helmet? Is this kind of like a thing where it's still possessed by the evil, kind of like in Empire Strikes Back when Luke has to go through that little like evil place and he like has to confront his fears of fighting Vader? Like, is it kind of the same thing as that?
I'm struggling to come up with any sort of equivalent that I know of personally in the Star Wars lore.
Well, how about this? Remember in KOTOR 2, like, don't you go to the Sith planet and there's like ghosts or something there?
You go to Korriban, and you go into a cave that's filled with but that's like Force visions. Like,
okay.
On Dagobah and in both the Knights of the Republic game, you come across visions that you have to fight. What's weird about this is that it's like a Force possession of an object. So it's not quite a vision, and it's hard to explain this fucking helmet. The interior decorator gets killed by her assistant. she's like going back onto the ship, and she's like, I think I've come up with the perfect plan. After this is literally a scene in this comic. The interior decorator comes up with a plan. She comes up with the plans for the castle. She takes it to Darth Vader, and he says no. And so she is going back to the ship to make revision. That is literally what I fucking do as a graphic designer. It's just my job in a Star Wars capacity. It's so stupid. I don't want to see I never want to see customer revisions in Star Wars. It's like bureaucratic nonsense that does not belong at the end of a Darth Vader comic series. She goes back to the ship. She gets shot by a mysterious person. Darth Vader goes back to the ship, and the assistant is wearing Momin's helmet, and so Momin can control his body.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
It's bizarre. And then they do it turns into a whole comedy routine where Vader kills the assistant. The helmet has a long monologue about who Momin is and who he is, who he was a long time ago. And then there's a whole comedy bit where he's like, oh, we'll build this castle. He gets it wrong. He's like, don't worry, we'll get it right the second time. And Vader kills the guy, puts the helmet on a random stormtrooper.
Yeah.
Next scene. Don't worry, Vader, we'll get it right the third time. Next scene, it's a different guy wearing the helmet. Don't worry, we'll get it right the fifth time. Next scene, different alien wearing a helmet. Comically oversized alien wearing the helmet. Oh, don't worry, this is only the 8th time. It's such a weird comedy bit.
And while this is all going on, outside the stormtroopers are literally it's like Starship Troopers are lava fleas, form up and kill the bugs.
Yeah. And that's apparently happening every day. And it's just something that happens that Darth Vader is completely ignoring. It's such a weird ending to this.
And
I didn't like it.
Yeah, and you don't see it coming that Momin is bad and he's tricking Vader. Open up this what is it, a portal to get his self back?
So
from the land of the dead, or
Vader believes that through this force focus he can, I don't know, he's not trying to resurrect Padme, but he believes he can see Padme.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Momin keeps telling him that he's building the castle. The castle is the key to seeing Padme.
Like a conduit or something.
At some point, all the fucking flame fleas attack. Vader kills all the inhabitants of the planet, which I don't know why he didn't already. He's Vader. Whatever. Kills them all. He's under lava for a while. He gets out. It's a whole thing. That's all that's worth mentioning about that. He's under lava for a bit. He escapes. He's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Goes into the castle key, and Momin is just alive. And he's like, haha, I have pulled my body out of the focus. And you're like, what? That's not a thing that happens in Star Wars. That's never been and also, if he can do that, then doesn't that mean that Anakin could bring Padme back? Because he's created life? It's very confusing.
See, here's the thing that I like about it. I like that he could use the force focus to go visit her or try to find her in this other alternate reality or whatever it is. But I don't like that things can come out of it.
Yeah, that's dumb. I agree.
Agreed. I thought all of it was dumb, but I'll agree.
I like force visions. I like force visions in Star Wars. I like that they're things that challenge people's kind of. It's literally a test. It's literally the test for the Holy Grail in Star Wars, where it's a very simple adventure time. This is your test to question your inner motive and come out a better person. That's always what force visions are for.
Mm-hmm.
This is it's going to be a force vision. It's going to be a force vision. It's going to be a force vision. Okay, it's not. It's actually a real thing that's happening with this real guy, and you have to kill him. And then literally 2 panels later, you've killed him. And now we're jumping into the force vision. It's well, what was all that about then?
That's what threw me off.
Yeah.
But I will say, aside from a few things within the very last section of this, the whole last section of this is just a massive vision that Vader is having, where he's he becomes his charred spawn body self again.
Mm-hmm.
I like that his robotic arms and legs are shown as hollow. It's just his torso on these ghost arms and ghost legs, and it's him going through everything mentally. And there's very little writing. There's some like echoes that he's hearing, but for the most part, it's him like traveling through himself, seeing the Jedi Council and all these other, like all the Jedi he's come across and defeated and fought. And you see Obi-Wan and Palpatine like battling it out. And he's moving past all of them to get to Padme. And this is like one of the best Padme things in the whole fucking series, which sucks because it comes after the weirdest moment shit ever. Which, do we even talk about it?
What?
The Padme stuff?
Yeah. I mean,
It's not a lot.
That he was trying to
Yeah.
resurrect her? Yeah, we mentioned that.
Well, I mean, like the whole like him getting to her finally. Because I really love that. I love that whole part.
But
I
he
agree.
no, we didn't mention that. He gets
I know,
to
it's like,
her,
she's like,
and then she like falls off the balcony, and then she's not
Well,
her or something.
he says, I'm here. Take my hand. Come with me. I can save you. I can save us both. And she says, are you an angel? They're the most beautiful creatures of the universe. And he says,
Oh.
please.
making that
Please.
line actually fucking good for once in
Right.
Star Wars.
It has a good, nice little touch of bringing it back. And then she says, why? I don't know you. Anakin Skywalker is dead. And then she throws herself over the balcony.
Okay.
And he comes out of the Mustafar castle and he's rebirthed as Vader.
Yeah, he's let go of his past.
He's like,
I could have done without majority of that arc. I just was very
It's-
upset with it.
it's so annoying because in my head I had to keep questioning. I was like, I kept thinking about it. I was like, was the moment stuff, was that necessary to get to where we got? Was it
No.
necessary to have all this weird, like wacky comedy stuff so that way when like the actual vision hit and we saw Vader become Vader, it hit you harder because you weren't expecting it? I don't know. It's like weird writing, and I can't tell if it was weird writing on purpose or if it was just weird writing.
I do have a question that maybe you can answer. When they're showing that other Sith from the helmet, was that supposed to be kind of like the KOTOR times? That's what I took from it.
Who, Momin?
Yeah.
It's just a helmet. I don't know if I don't think it was Mandalorian.
Okay. I mean, to me, it felt like it was that time, like, all those years ago when there's so many Sith around and they're not.
well, it's
they're not
definitely ancient.
You're talking about the Old Republic, is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's the helmet. I think is pre-Old Republic, like way back, like
Okay.
ancient, like back when the Jedi were the Jedi, which is a different group. I think it was way back then.
Okay.
Actually, no, because he says the Jedi came and killed him, but I think surely it was before Old Republic because it was like a whole
That
different.
was the only part interesting, except you didn't need a whole issue explaining his backstory. It was completely unnecessary to me.
Yeah. Kind of hard to tell times in Star Wars because nothing's changed in the Star Wars technology-wise for like 4,000 years.
And then it kind of goes backwards and then it goes forward again.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
It's like the Alien franchise where it's like, what year is it supposed to be? They have smartphones, so this is further in the past. Instead of
Pretty
CB
much.
radios, everyone knows in the
They-
future CB radios are going to come back big time.
everything in Alien, looks like it belongs in the 70s, but futuristic version of it. So
Like until you get to Prometheus, and they all have smartphones and shit. It's like, what the fuck? I thought this took place before the old shit.
But they're still playing just Snake on their phone.
Yeah. They're playing.
All right.
What's the game from Thing? 3D chess or something? Virtual
Oh,
chess.
yeah. Yeah.
Playing virtual chess.
Oh, any last things you guys want to say about this book before we move on to Shelf or Box? I think we covered just about everything.
I think so. Like I said, I like the string that like ran through it all.
Yeah, there's some interesting concepts to it. And I like that it's all canon and it adds some interesting more story to Vader becoming Vader, which you don't have other.
It's set up as like the perfect anthology. It's an anthology series of a bunch of different stories, but with that string, that current running through it of, okay, there is going to be an ending to this. And I mean, to their credit, the ending was phenomenal. They even have the fucking line of like, now this is pod racing in there as the echo. And I was like, that's not as annoying as it could have been, which is a lot. That's saying a lot about that line to bring back, now this is pod racing.
All right, I think we should move on to Shelf or Box.
It'd be great if you saw one of the echoes and I was like, how about spinning? That's a good trick.
Stefan, why don't you go first?
Sure. So kind of for me with this, like, because it does take place right after Revenge of the Sith. I like the trip that Anakin goes on into becoming like full on Vader, because back before he was Vader, I mean, I always feel like anything that was going on, bad or good, Anakin was always involved. He was always interested. He's always like, I'm going to be a good Jedi and blah, blah, blah. And in this comic, like things happen all the time around Vader, and he's so hollow and just does not give a shit about like half of it. I mean, like when on Mustafar, like the bugs are attacking his temple, he just does not care. He's just doing something else. And then when he gets done with that, then he's like, all right, I'll take care of these bugs now. But I don't know, he just felt like the way they wrote him, it felt like really good to see a cold version of Vader who really is coming into his own. And, you know, I gotta agree with Stu, though. The Emperor did talk a little too much. He is chatty Cathy through the whole thing.
The helmet told me.
Yeah.
You gotta throw your hands up when you say it.
Oh, I am.
Throw your hands up and complain. Throw your hands up.
How many pizzas are we getting? I don't know. Order 66. But
I'll call my interior decorator.
I'm bored. But yeah, I'm gonna put it on the shelf. And I think the reason being is just because overall, when I first read this, the general tone of it was what I felt was on par with Star Wars. And not only that, but it kept me interested for the whole book. And I finished it almost in 2 nights, I want to say. So it's going on my shelf.
Okay. How about you, Stu?
I'm also gonna put it on my shelf. To be honest, I wasn't sure what I was like. I didn't know what to expect going into this. I've read a little bit of some other Star Wars comics. I've generally stayed away from the comics and novels, not out of any like concerted effort. I just never felt like getting into them. When I had like the games and the movies, it just felt like too much. But I was happy to finally jump into this one. And I think that, like, the writing is definitely the weakest part. But the visuals are so unbelievably good that they more than make up for it. I'm gonna end up like trying to look for many posters based off visuals from this series that are just fantastic. There's a whole part we didn't talk about with when Vader goes to Mustafar for the first time and he like sees he thinks he sees Luke on his ship, and Luke turns around and he has like the Vader mask as his skull.
I do not remember this.
It's like it's like when he's on his way to Mustafar on Padme's ship. It's so creepy, and
Oh, yeah.
the imagery in here it's so well done. Some of it's really genuinely intimidating and haunting even. I absolutely love the art style of this. I wish the writing was a little bit tighter at times. I think Vader's transition from being like Anakin learning to becoming Darth Vader is really cool. Some of the stories like interspersed are pretty interesting to me. So it's definitely going on my shelf.
Okay. Oh, and I did find that thing that you were talking about earlier in the episode where you said it was the third of the fourth, because I see the Dark Horse Vader thing. I found the exact thing you were looking at.
Oh, yeah.
Wikipedia. So I see what you mean.
We'll get to the other ones eventually. I want to say the second one is really good.
Well, the first Marvel one is the one that I originally thought we were doing, and but it then turned out that Stefan had wanted to do this one.
That's the first Marvel one at some point, because the first Marvel one has there's like a scientist that is working with Vader who's like
Aphra.
Yeah, Aphra. She's like the plucky sidekick that I kind of love.
We'll definitely do that, because I want to read that again, and that takes place between episode 4 and 5, and then the new one that just is about to be written in 2020 takes place between episode 5 and episode 6.
Yeah. Sorry, I forgot. I forgot that I picked this. I guess I did.
Oh no, I mean,
did.
I was happy to read
it adds comedy in the beginning for our opening like normal.
I was trying to remember if I was trying to figure out which comic series. There's a whole comic series about it's right after Order 66, and it's like a group of Jedi banding together to take down Vader. I want to say it was the Dark Horse series, because it's not canon.
It must be Dark Horse.
Mm-hmm.
But it's pretty good. It's like all these Jedi banding together to take down Vader, and spoilers, they all get fucking owned. It's a great little Vader is unstoppable moment.
There's a cool comic too. Sorry, I don't want to let you finish, Mike, but there's a cool comic too we might have to get to where Boba Fett, it's called like Darth Vader versus Boba Fett, I think, and it's just like 6 issues. Yeah. And it's written by the creator, one of the creators of Judge Dredd, John Wagner. So I kind of want to read that too.
You have my attention.
If they
Yeah.
redid Punisher kills the MCU or the Marvel universe again, would they have to include Star Wars in that now?
That'd be awesome.
They should redo. They should do a remake of that.
Put Darth Vader in there.
I just Googled it, but I can't find anything to what you just said.
Let me look.
Okay, I'll talk while you look. And so I'm going to do shelf or box. I'm going to definitely put this on the shelf because I did enjoy it. I mean, there's like I didn't like issue 18. I wasn't crazy about the final arc, as I complained about many times in the group. But I enjoyed it. Like I enjoyed having more to Vader becoming Vader, to show you how powerful he is, to kind of show, you know, his mastery of the Force, and how, you know, there's a couple issues, you know, the first issues in the first arc, I should say, in this run, he's just killing people with the Force. There is no lightsaber. He doesn't have one, and I like that idea, that, you know, it really shows his power, because you don't see that enough in the movies, because they're old movies when he's in them. So I enjoyed it. Definitely going on the shelf, and I'm really glad we read it. And anyone who's out there who's listening to this, even though we did talk about the whole thing, go out and read it. Find a way. Any way you can. It's worth it.
It's an audio podcast. We can't do the visuals justice.
By the way, that comic was called Star Wars Boba Fett, Enemy of the Empire.
There's a lot of Star Wars comics out there.
It was a Dark Horse.
I love Boba Fett.
Mike's like, it's going on the show.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking it up right now as I'm trying to find it. I'm going to have to read it.
I'm going down a list of all the comics. I'm just like, well, we'll get to that eventually. Eventually, we might, if we're still doing this in 20 years, I think we'll have finished all the Star Wars comics.
Eventually, we might do more with this. So I got plans.
I want to do some Darth Maul stuff eventually. Because I love Darth Maul. He's so cool.
Okay, we'll just talk about his Star Wars comics.
Okay, I'm fine with that. The Star Wars podcast.
There aren't like 50 of those or more, or thousands of them, I'm sure.
Oh, there's way more than I'd say there's definitely more than hundreds.
Yeah. Like there's the Star Wars Dark Empire, which is a Dark Horse book, which I know is supposed to be pretty good.
We'll become yet another Star Wars podcast.
Let's do like a news show as if we're within the Star Wars universe, where we're like the Fox News of Star Wars.
You know, that would be a really cool idea.
Great. Somebody do that.
There'd be a lot of writing involved or something like that. You'd have to really, like, you couldn't do our format of just bullshit for an hour and a half, 2 hours.
It could be like Welcome to Night Vale, but it takes place within Star Wars, and you have like all the different guests come on. Like you have your Alex Jones guest who just comes on and comes on with crazy conspiracy theories about the Jedi. And the Jedi return our freaking younglings gang.
All right, I think it's time to wrap up this. Hey, this is actually our longest comic episode, by the way. Mad. Almost double the length of a normal comic episode.
Yeah, it turns out when I'm here, I talk a lot.
Plus, there's a lot to talk about. Like the last time you were with us for a comic was Freddy vs. Jason for Sash.
Yeah,
it just wasn't a whole lot to talk about.
Kind of lacking, but
I still can't believe we did that. But you know what? People have downloaded. People listen to it.
Like you bring me into Star Wars, I'm gonna have my extensive, completely useless knowledge for it. This is all it's good for. This and Star Wars trivia.
I forgot to mention this earlier. I was going to mention it at the opening. I did want to give another quick shout out to the other podcast I had mentioned. Well, would have been a couple weeks ago. That time you guys hear this one is I had pronounced it wrong. And I'll be saying this in a regular episode too. It was not Mexmen. It was
Mexmen.
What did I say? I said X-Men. Yeah, it's Mexmen.
You said X-Mex, which Stefan and I laughed at because we were like, that doesn't make any sense.
I know. I don't know why.
What you meant to say was Mexmen.
It's Mexmen. So if you guys get a chance, look for our podcast, add your rotation. It's called Mexmen. There'll be a link in the show notes, and I'm also going to mention it on our. Yeah, it'll be. You already heard this. What am I saying? This comes out later than after recording it. So I sometimes forget how.
Stefan and I even joked about. We're like, X-Mex is such a weird name. Is that
why? It is.
X-Mex.
Sounds like a cereal.
Yeah, I wanted to say it at the beginning of this episode, but then I completely forgot, and now I'm like, oh shit, I should mention that. So yeah, if you're looking for another podcast, definitely look up. God, Mexmen. I keep forgetting. I don't know why it doesn't stick with me.
We'll write it down for the next official episode, the next main series.
Show notes. I have written down now for when we do our episode next week.
Which, if you're listening to this, will actually be our episode from like 2 weeks ago.
Last week, yeah. Because we're doing Fear Effect, and this is published after we release Fear Effect. So, yeah. All right. First, I want to give a quick shout out to our awesome intro and outro. Stefan, do you want to do let us know that Talk, please. I'm done.
It's Bulby, aka Mike Stoney, from his EP Bite the Bullet. The name of the song is called the Cool Kids Squad.
Cool Kid Squad.
Cool Kid Squad. You can find it in the show notes. I'm done.
I know.
Link in the description.
I just sprung it on you. I'm tired.
I'm
It's
surprised I remembered that.
I mean, outro with my classic YouTuber voice.
All right. I want to thank everybody for listening, and we will have
like, comment, and subscribe.
follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I want to thank everyone for listening, and we will have another comic episode to you next month that will not be Star Wars related. So, bye, everybody.
Bye.
Force
I need to
people.
pee.